All right, chat. I told you I wanted to talk about one last thing before we start playing the tic-tac-toe. And there's one final argument, one final video that I need to record today because it's a hot topic and the season's over. So I want to make sure that you guys understand this. The Ballon d'Or. Haaland or Messi? Lionel Messi or Erling Haaland? Sometimes your videos are a joke. Cool, think what you want. Who's gonna be the Ballon d'Or? In my opinion, I already said it. I think who should win it should be Haaland. Who I think it's gonna win it, probably Messi. Just knowing the voters, just knowing everyone on the way that they assimilate things and stuff like that. But the reason why I think Haaland should win it is because of the criteria that we've been using. Depends on how the voters are going to look at it, right? If we're going to look at team achievements, which is the reason why Modric won it, the reasons why Ronaldo won a lot of his, the reason why Messi won some of his, the reason why Messi... Which one was the one? Or are we going to look at stats and just overall just who was the better player? Because better player, it's easy. If Messi wins it, will it be a robbery? I don't think so. That's a very childish that's a very childish way of thinking that number one or two. Like, this is the thing. Let me clarify something, chat, because a lot of you always think about this. Just because someone else wins it doesn't mean it was a robbery, because there's always a reasoning to everything. So if I say that Haaland should win it over Messi, doesn't mean that Messi winning it is not fair or is a robbery, because guess what? I already said multiple times, Messi will be number two if Haaland wins it. And if Haaland doesn't win it, Messi will win it. So it's one or two. So you have your two guys winning it right there. So it's not a robbery. It's not a robbery. There is an argument for the both of them. Now, depends, what are you voting for? What are you, in the sense of what you're voting? Because think about this. I found this graphic right here that shows the overall stats for Messi and Haaland next year. So we're talking about Haaland had the treble, the UEFA Champions League, the Premier League, and the FA Cup. Messi had the FIFA World Cup. The FIFA the Best doesn't count because FIFA the Best is just the same award as the Ballon d'Or, but given by FIFA. Or by UEFA, sorry. So it doesn't make sense that we're using that as a criteria, because that's just another individual award you're using another individual award to guarantee another individual award. I don't think so, but at the same time, it is an award, so he put it there. The Ligue 1, which we know he was the play in the team of the season, but same as Haaland. And we know that he was, but Mbappe won the Player of the Year by the official Player of the Year, by the Liga. Then he won, I think that is the Super Cup of France. And then this award right here. Who knows what this award right here is? What is this award right here? Because I don't know what this is. But regardless of the fact. Also, right there, he didn't include the player of the tournament for the World Cup. This is the thing. When you really come to think about the World Cup and the player of the tournament for the World Cup, Messi won it, and there's no argument, he won it. But the Ballon d'Or is for the full season. For the full season. So do not tell me that just because if you made up your mind for Messi winning the Ballon d'Or from the get-go, as soon as he won the World Cup, then that means you didn't take into consideration everything that goes after the World Cup, which is the bad thing about the World Cup being in the middle of the season, because a lot of people disregarded what everything happened after the World Cup, because they're just like, Messi won it. Like, I don't care. He's winning the Ballon d'Or, which I don't think is the way they should win. Oh, is the loudest award. It's awarded to the best sportsman, and I'm pretty sure Messi is the only footballer to ever win it. Cool. So we're gonna use an award that has nothing to do with football We're using that sportsman award because you gotta keep in mind the Ballon d'Or is strictly just for narrative and the play and the player. Because let's be honest here, and I've been the first one. I've seen multiple videos. If we're talking about like, hey, if the Ballon d'Or was to just be the best player, Ronaldo would have like 2 Ballon d'Ors, and then Messi would have like 8. I've said that multiple times. Because if we're just gonna count who was the best footballer, Messi, a lot of the times, he was by far the best footballer. But guess what? Being the best footballer and that not that not equaling or that not giving you success in no facets of the game, it's what makes the Ballon d'Or. They push narrative. The voters are looking for a narrative to push. And that's the reason why. Look at it again. When it comes down to the 2019 Ballon d'Or, when Messi beat VVD by Virgil van Dijk by just 4 points or whatever it was, a lot of people, me included, were saying like, what else does a defender have to do to win a Ballon d'Or? Because if that season that Van Dijk not only beat Messi, you got to keep in mind, that's the season that Liverpool beat Barcelona in the way to the Champions League final. What else did Virgil van Dijk in that season have to do? So that made me realize one thing. They're never going to give the Ballon d'Or to a defender ever again. Unless something extremely, extremely extraordinary happens. Now, if we look at, let's say 2010, which is the year that I thought like, okay, if we look from 2010 onwards, we can make an argument for each one. 2010, we're talking about you're rewarding the best player, which I always said, Messi as the best player won it. For sure, 2010. He should have won it based on the best player because Iniesta and Xavi won the same thing, but Messi was just overall better. So we say like, okay, and we didn't care about the 2010 World Cup. I didn't have a problem with that, right? We forward to 2013. A lot of people say like, oh, Ronaldo didn't win anything. Why should he have won it? He was the best player in the world. 69 goals. We're talking about Messi. He went injured that season. But again, injuries are part of the game. He scored more goals than Ribery and Messi together. Ronaldo scored 69 goals that season or that year. Messi scored like 47 and Ribery scored like 21. That's 68. Ronaldo had 69 goals. There's your reason why. Ronaldo was unstoppable that year. And again, we're rewarding the best player. Out of nowhere, it became more just like the voters started voting for like, do you know what? It's not enough being the best player in the world and in your team. If you're not winning anything, which I think that's what happened in 2013, after they saw Ribery win everything and they still didn't win the Ballon d'Or, everyone's just like, okay, like we're not valuing the season that much. Because that's exactly what happened in 2012 when Messi scored the historic season, which again, he was the best player in the world that year. So 90 goals, he won the Ballon d'Or. In 2013 was the season that Ronaldo has his best season. So that right there. But then everyone was saying just like, but they're not giving their team success. So does it really matter? Right? So we look back into it. I think that's the season that changed it. 2010 Iniesta had a mid-season was a 6 out of 10 overall throughout the World Cup. Okay, Xavi. Let's say Xavi. Because Rupak, I agree with you, but at the same, because I did watch that World Cup, but at the same time we're talking about like the voters then and the voters now. Because back then the voters were just voting on how good the player was, right? The just overall who the best player was in the world. Now they're voting as in like, hey, it doesn't matter that you're the best player in the world. You also need to be in a winning team, right? Because that's the same logic that they use in 2018. Real Madrid won the Champions League and the FIFA Club World Cup, and Modric took Croatia to the final and won the FIFA World Cup Player of the Month or Player of the Tournament. That's literally the reason that they gave it to Modric. Because even though Messi and Griezmann and probably Ronaldo all have better seasons individually than Modric, Modric still had everything else in the criteria, in the new criteria. I think they changed the criteria again. Now it's more individual performance over trophies. I don't know where you saw that. If you did, send me a tweet right now. That way I can read it. But again, let's say we're applying the logic of 2010. Let's disregard awards and everything. Who was the best player? Are we gonna say that Haaland breaking the record of the goal scoring record in his first season in the Premier League, the Golden Boot, the PFA Player of the Year, and the PFA Young Player of the Year, and everything else that comes with it, the top goal scorer of the Champions League? Are we gonna say that all those achievements, season-wise, get pushed to the side, on top of winning the treble, obviously, gets pushed to the side because Messi won the World Cup? That's really the question, because Messi wasn't bad at all. But you're talking about, if we're going to talk about performance, he did it in Ligue 1, 38 goals, 25 assists, and his best performance came in the World Cup. And then after that, PSG just crumbled. Do you think the voters are not going to look at that? Do you think I don't look at it that way? Because overall, in my opinion, yes, if PSG have made it even to the semifinals of the Champions League, I wouldn't even say anything for Haaland, because I said that before the World Cup. I said the second Messi, after Messi won the World Cup, I said it really all comes down to what happens in the rest of the season. Because if PSG even sniff a good final or like a semi-final and Messi's doing good, it wraps. But the fact that not only Manchester City won their Champions League, they won the treble, the balance became on Haaland's side because he has the records, he has the performance, he has the individual achievements, and he did history. Okay, let's see, Rupak, thank you very much. Let's read this. Oh, it's a link. Okay. Okay, let me read this. Why does it say, shouldn't this be the the 2023? Shouldn't this be the 2023 Ballon d'Or, not the 2022? Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's read this together. When is the Ballon d'Or 2022 and how have the rules changed? Okay, we already knew this. Ballon d'Or become the end of the season award. Going forward, the award period will find... Okay, I already knew that. Yeah, no, this is new. I already knew this. This is how Benzema won his... This is how Benzema did it, because now we only account from beginning to the end. They changed the format for seasonal go to four, a new hierarchy. The criteria for deciding the winner has changed. The foremost factor is naturally individual performance and the decisive and impressive character of the contenders. Second is collective performance and the record accumulated during the season, followed by the class of a player and their sense of fair play. Lastly, from 2022 onwards, no consideration will be given to the player's career with a view to creating a more open playing field. Okay, that's basically saying, like, just because your name is Messi or Ronaldo, you're not gonna get extra voting, which is true. Back in the day, there used to be a voting which was insane, that your whole career was into consideration for deciding who would win the Ballon d'Or, which was insane in my mind. It was so crazy in my mind that, like, your career as a player was just part of the thing. Yo, guys on TikTok, my bad, I forgot I had you guys on live. I went to check a link and I completely forgot about it. I think that was the most important to get rid of, taking the account into career. Yeah, taking bro, cut from my bad. I'm live on Kick. That's why I say go check on Kick, because that's where we're live. Yeah, no, taking into account your whole career was dumb. Because at that point, you just put Messi and Ronaldo, and they were like, whoever was third place, it was GG. But overall, I'll be honest here. Again, if we're really gonna take into account everything, are we really gonna say a 7-game tournament? And the reason why I say a 7-game tournament is because out of 50 games of the whole season, are we really gonna give the Ballon d'Or on a 7 games that happened in December? We're in June. Okay, chat? We're in June. Those 7 games, even though it was one of the best times of my life because of the content, the games and everything, and waking up so early in the morning to watch footy, that game happened 6 months ago. We're talking about we have seen PSG go down, Real Madrid get eliminated, Real Madrid winning the Copa del Rey. We've seen Manchester City win the treble. We've seen Liverpool go from not qualifying to Europe to making it to the Europa League. We saw Arsenal going from first to second. We saw Bayern Munich going not from first or being first, going to third place and fight Borussia Dortmund until the very last season. We saw Napoli win their first title of the whole season. I really like if your argument for Messi winning the Ballon d'Or is solely the World Cup, then you got me lost. Then you really got me lost. If your argument is the World Cup plus something, plus the rest of the season, then I can hear you out and everything. But there's a lot of people that I see that say like, oh, he won the World Cup. I'm like, no, dude, that's not an argument. That's not a way of voting. That's just you saying the game is over. Where was this energy for Modric? Modric won the UEFA Champions League. Modric won the FIFA Club World Cup. Modric went to the final of the World Cup and won the Player of the Tournament. That's 3 trophies right there. And that's 3 trophies. And he made it to UEFA Champions League Team of the Season. But he had no GA because a center mid is not supposed to have GA. Don't be ignorant. That's like when people compared VVD to Messi. VVD was not gonna have the stats Messi had, and Messi would not have the stats that Virgil van Dijk had because they play different positions. It doesn't matter. Iniesta still had GA when he played. There's a whole season that Iniesta went without a whole year that Iniesta went without an assist. So don't come at me because I have receipts. You don't. I think for being a World Cup and how decisive Messi was, it'll be a big part. Without him, they get group and great season with PSG individually. I think so. The same thing. That's why I feel like it's one or two. It's either Messi or Haaland. In my opinion, it's Haaland for sure. But I already said if Haaland doesn't win it, it's Messi, and I don't have an issue with that. But I have an issue with the people that said just like, oh, it's just World Cup. Modric didn't win the World Cup. Don't forget, Croatia will never win the World Cup. Alvarez has had more non-penalty. I don't care about the penalties argument. I really don't. Because penalties are part of the game. And I'm not a Messi FC troll. I'm not going to say like, oh, penalties only score so many goals because of penalties. No, penalties are part of the game. Either you score them or you don't. If you don't score your World Cup, if you don't score your penalties, you shouldn't be taking penalties. Simple as that. Modric dubbed back-to-back masterclass versus Denmark in the round of 16 and versus Russia in the quarters. A great game versus England in the semis and good in the final, although they got whooped way better than Iniesta 2010 for the guy who mentioned it. Hey, Kiko should win the World Cup and UCL Ballon d'Or. I mean, I don't play. I wish I did. If I did, I would never... I would probably still be streaming just because I love talking to people, but I would be like Alfonso Davis. I would try to be just on the good side and people like just talk to me. And Modric dropped a masterclass in the 2000. Oh, I remember that final. He was insane. Yeah, but overall, chat, guys, whoever's watching this video, do let me know who's gonna win the Ballon d'Or. Also, by the way, who's gonna be third place? For me, it's probably gonna be Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne, Mbappe, or Vinicius is gonna be third place. That's gonna be a harder argument to do than the first two, because I feel like the first two will be undoubtedly like Haaland and Messi, but the third, fourth, and fifth, who's gonna be third? Who's gonna be third? Are we talking about Kevin De Bruyne? I think Kevin De Bruyne is the rightfully. I think Kevin De Bruyne is rightfully number 3. I don't know if he broke the most assists for the Premier League in one season, but I feel it's probably going to be KDB, Vini, and then Mbappe. Vini low-key could be top 3, but I feel it's going to be KDB. Broccoli, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Freaking KDB shouldn't even... Was this worst season? Should it be first place? Are you kidding? When did you start watching? Are you just remembering the World Cup? Is that why? Vini's undoubtedly top 5. Yeah. Julian Alvarez for Ballon d'Or, World Cup plus treble. I mean, but that's the thing. If you're only looking at awards, if you were to be blind and just tell you like, hey, he won this, where should he rank? Sure. Vini's not effective in La Liga games. You're tripping. Ferran Torres fourth. Haaland, Messi, Mbappe. For me, Mbappe gave us a top 5 iconic moments in sports history. The second best goal went brr. Yeah, but I don't think... I think that's irrelevant. That's just a game. It's a very important game. Don't get me wrong. It's a hat trick in the Champions League in the UEFA in the it's a hat trick in the World Cup in the FIFA World Cup final. But that's just one game. That doesn't win your whole season. You see what I'm saying? Like if we're gonna say, oh, he should be top 3 because this one game, let's just ignore the rest of the season. That's what I'm saying. Like this, let's not just pretend that the Ballon d'Or is not about like the whole season. Let's not pretend that. All right, but guys, I appreciate anyone that watched this video. If you were live on the stream, do drop it down in the comments below. Much love. Subscribe if you're new here. Like the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.